Like Clockwork, a design by Chesley Cox, Brooke Foy, and Rose Hayes. The case: public transportation. We wanted to explore issues relating to public transportation in major US cities, as we felt many large cities outside of New York City, LA, and DC don't have a reliable, well functioning public transit system. We chose to use Houston, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, and Madison, Wisconsin as our sample base because these cities fit the bill and they are the closest to us physically. Prior to this exploration, we had varying levels of familiarity with the public transit available in each location. The individuals we interviewed also had an array of experience. Some were first-time users, and others were regular riders. The challenges we faced early on largely related to scheduling, as a group who lived quite far apart, and as individuals who were juggling work, life, and coursework. Now, imagine these scenarios. Zari, a university student, regularly takes the bus to their classes, work, and to complete errands. Although they have a car, they receive a daily bus pass as part of tuition. So that's the mode of transportation they usually use. Today, the weather is expected to be in the low 30s and rainy, possibly turning to snow in the later hours. Their only class for the day is costume history, which runs from 10:20 to 11:50 a.m. They have no issue catching the bus to campus. Although their seat is damp, it's not too terribly mud-sloshed, and they make it to class without issue. However, after class is over, they get delayed by the professor, and this causes them to miss one bus due to timing, and then another because the other classes have gotten out and the lunch rush is a madness. When they board the third bus, they discover several stops later that their destination is at the end of the route instead of coming up. They disembark at the next stop and spend several minutes trying to understand the city's transit website to find a new route because they do need to get home and prepare for work. In another scenario, Gray, a seasoned city employee, operates bus route number 4, which runs a loop from downtown Fort Worth's Medical City to the east part of the city. It's late Thursday afternoon and rush hour traffic has begun to swell. Together with a surprise thunderstorm, the normal drive time for the last half of their loop looks like it will be doubled at the very least. Only a few stops past the midpoint of their route, Gray realizes the bus is already full. They overhear several passengers chatter about waiting out the storm and catching the major sports game at a popular block of restaurants a few stops away. While Gray dutifully pulls up to 2 more stops, no one gets off and there's no more room to safely transport additional passengers. Although they hate to leave people waiting in the rain, Gray decides to bypass the remaining stops to the popular block unless a passenger hits the stop request button. So, after reviewing the information gleaned from interviews and experiencing the transit services ourselves, we decided on the problem statement: how might we adjust the bus system to facilitate an enjoyable, reliable experience for riders? Why? The bus system is the most common and most used form of transport within the cities we sampled, and as a result, we felt it had the bigger opportunity to benefit a larger portion of current and future users. The bus system also hosts a wide variety of concerns and problems that could be improved through design, such as reliability, like timeliness, the accuracy of the route and the scheduling, the condition of the bus itself, like the cleanliness, the interior temperature, and available seating, and the ticketing process, whether that meant purchasing the tickets themselves at the site, on the bus, and how to pay for it.
So, first, you need to focus on the goal of what an enjoyable and reliable experience for riders really means to us, because there are a lot of different ways to improve or change the bus system depending on what we would like to focus on. Deciding on how to potentially edit this bus system to help users or to help users or bus drivers themselves was a main issue in trying to determine exactly what we wanted to design. There were several avenues that we had considered, such as the system of routing, the driver amenities, the bus amenities, and even the sizes of buses. However, we decided to dedicate this time to adjusting things from the user perspective more so than the bus driver perspective, mostly because that is what would affect the most people and also what we had the most experience with testing it out and interviewing people as riders rather than drivers. So in crafting a lot of our specific potential prototypes, we really had to focus on not worrying about the planning part of it and not worry about the real reason for something. It's just mostly just coming up with ideas. We were just generating ideas, regardless of how ridiculous or really practical it had to be. So two of our ideas are rather similar in integrating more electronics into the buses themselves, such as screens on the outside, pictured here on the left, of both embedding sensors in it so they can tell which seats are being taken up, which ones are not being currently sat in order to better display to people who are waiting for the bus, hey, this bus has seats available, versus, hey, this is completely full, we're so sorry, you're gonna have to wait for the next one. The other option was also to put one on the inner lid of the actual bus to allow people to better understand where they are in the route, and also to be able to get onto the bus and see exactly what the route is so they can immediately tell if they're on an incorrect bus, an inefficient bus, or simply on the completely wrong bus altogether. Some sillier ideas include, not pictured here, attaching a sidecar to the bus in order to allow for extra seats when needed. Pictured on the right also is doubling the length of buses as an accordion centipede to increase seats as well as the visibility of said buses for other drivers around bus. And then on the not editing the bus side, we also had creating small ticket machines that could be purchased while waiting for the bus, so that there was not a line inside the bus while you were trying to scan your bus pass, do your tickets, buy whatever, as you were boarding the bus, as that does slow drive times. Two ideas that we fully created and developed prototypes for, but did not actually end up going with as a final solution, was both a pay machine and then a schedule and updater app. So the issue with the pay machine, both in prototyping and in practicality, was the limitations of how do we build this to accommodate as many routes as possible, because many heavier cities, one bus stop can accommodate almost 12 or so routes, which can be quite much for a small machine to keep up with. And then also issues with the prototyping in that we did not have the technology needed to fully take the users through start to finish in buying them, even after we changed it from loading routes to simply picking a ticket type, such as a year-long route bus pass, a monthly bus pass, or even just a day pass. That could work for most riders. The schedule and updater app had a few issues as well, mostly again in technological limitations in terms of what we could do for prototyping, as well as the complexity that quickly overtook a lot of the scheduler app, as well as having to then later maybe incorporate it into Google Docs or some sort of other mapping system. So we had to eventually abandon these prototypes as they were impractical to try and fully develop.
The prototype we ended up going with is a digital mock-up of the pass track system, as we decided to call it. A digital mock-up of a system that bus drivers can use to track passengers. The original idea, or the initial prototype, was just a description list, was not very fleshed out, low fidelity, but it did provide a generalized overview of some of the basic functions. User flow was not really taken into account at the time, and it was just very basic. We then generated a medium fidelity mock-up in PowerPoint that fleshed out the initial description list by providing visual examples of the digital screens that would display the finished device. It did take user flow into more of account, and after a couple of rounds of user testing and feedback, we added some new functions. Here we see a demonstration of the use of the pass track system. This is the digital mock-up. This would be the screen on opening. You'll notice the push buttons on either side of the digital mock-up. The idea behind these buttons was to make quick and easy navigation from any point in the process of using the tool. Currently, there is only the home screen and passenger tracker screens that have been developed that use these buttons. Further, we will go through those. Up next, we have what acts as the home page and the central navigation point for each feature. We decided to go with a clean and simple color scheme with large icons to reduce the amount of time the driver must search for the desired option. Here, the bus driver can access the main passenger tracker, log the bus's location, indicate any special needs the passengers waiting appear to have, go directly to the rideshare dispatch, change the external screen of the bus, or access settings. Once again, at this time, we do not have a settings page to go to. Upon entering the process of tracking the number of passengers waiting at the bus stop, the driver must select which route and direction they are currently driving. This feature would be integrated to know which stops are along the route for ease of location. After selecting the route, the driver would estimate how many people are at the stop that would not be able to board. Breaking down the group by size can make the rideshare choice more efficient. For example, if there was only one person waiting, an entire van would not be necessary to save the space for other spots with more people waiting to board. Before selecting a service, the driver can enter any needs the passengers may have, whether it be added weight, such as a bike, or potential other factors such as disabilities. Here's an example of a progress screen indicate the device is in the process of connecting to a dispatch service. After logging all of the passenger information, the driver can now indicate to the dispatch service exactly where the stop is from the exact geographical location, the address near the stop, or by viewing a map. After this, the rideshare dispatch has all of the data needed to provide alternative options for the waiting passengers. From this screen, the driver can select from the two most suitable options. For this example, one car is closer, but only has 2 seats open. However, the Lyft option is a few minutes further away, but with more seats. Next, the bus driver has the chance to update the external sign on the bus to indicate to future stops that it will not be stopping, but to expect transportation soon. The driver can manually change the screen if desired or can select full. Finally, the device has finished its processes and saved the data. Of course, this tool would require significant integration of other systems to complete this task, with the problem of skipped stops and people waiting for extended periods of time in the elements closer to being solved. Finally, this is us as a team: Chesley Cox, Rose Hayes, Brooke Foy, and of course, Minette Bosby, A. She has always been the boss of this team. Thank you for watching our presentation of our ideas and final prototype. We hope you enjoyed it.